I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action.
You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is.
Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger.
If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Oh, I forgot to bump you out. My bad. Over here messing up on the live stream already. We just got started. Joining you here on a Thursday. We had to go a little bit later today because I had some adulting to do with the DMV office, but that's all squared away. So now we are back. And this is episode number 368 of Shut Up and Grind, where we're about empower, inspire, ignite, and unleash. So whatever's blocking the path to whatever success you want in this lifetime, I bring on guests from all over the world. We have an audience that spans close to 80 countries now, and it's all about you. What are you struggling with? What are you dealing with? And the guests come on and they share their stories of overcoming to hopefully empower you to unleash that beast within that's waiting to get out. So who are we talking with today? We are talking with Charissa. She overcame obesity, addiction, trauma, and toxic love, not to survive, but to thrive. She isn't just an empowerment coach. She's the walking embodiment of what's possible when you get radically honest, spiritually aligned, and fiercely self-responsible. I love all of that. So, Charissa, welcome to the show.
It's so nice to be here, Robert.
Good. Where are you joining me from?
I'm joining you from Northern Alberta, Canada.
Canada, back-to-back Canadian guest. My guest yesterday was from Canada as well. Are you originally from there?
I'm from a little bit north from here, but yeah, I'm originally from Alberta.
Okay, what's it like living there?
You know what? I live on an organic farm, so we are never bored, and there is always entertaining things happening here.
All right. Well, let's dive in. So, how would you describe yourself at your core?
At my core, I'm a trailblazer. I don't live a conventional life. I've never been drawn to conventional things. So I've always found myself blazing my own way in life.
So did you grow up on that farm?
No, I'm new to the farm. I've been in this farming region for about 3 years. I grew up in a small town in Northern Alberta away from here.
Okay. So how did you get into that farming? I'm sorry. How did you develop that mindset of that trailblazer and not subscribing to everyday life?
Well, I never really liked being told what to do. So I always was finding a way to make things better so that people wouldn't be telling me what to do. They'd be like, how did you do that? Right. So I was always putting my little spin on it and finding a different way. I love efficiency. So I was always finding the most efficient way to get more done. I'd be babysitting and programming calculators at the same time, while the kids were napping. So they were being looked after, but really just finding ways to integrate life in ways that I had never been shown, but I was always drawn to.
Okay. So how would you describe your childhood / upbringing?
It was interesting. I have a lot of compassion for my parents now that I'm an adult. I can understand maybe what they had gone through. So I grew up as a middle kid. I have 2 sisters, one younger, one older. My dad worked in the oil field, still does to this day. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom with us. So she did her best to parent us 3 girls. And, I was a dancer. I grew up in a small town. I was very adventurous. So I was always out doing something and just finding a way to create in the world among everything that was there.
So, how was your relationship with your parents?
It was somewhat strained. Like we grew up in a house that really demanded compliance versus being a free thinker. So I learned how to be a very compliant, the good girl, got the good grades, all of that. And my dad worked overseas in the oil field. So he was very much really work orientated first, and then family kind of came second. So it was really finding that independence at a young age, anyhow, because my parents were young when they had children. So they were kind of finding their own way at the same time, and just, learning how to have better relationships as adults now that there's some self-development that I was able to do to kind of fill those gaps in.
See, you said the key words there, self-development, but we'll come back to that. Want to get more of the backstory. What was one of the toughest things that you dealt with as a child?
I was sick a lot, so I had really bad asthma when I was little. I also was bullied in school. I'm quite an intelligent kid, so a lot of times people picked on me for being on honors and just not having to struggle so hard in school as maybe they were doing. But it was really just not really fitting in anywhere. I was a middle kid, so didn't really fit in the family that way. And tall, lanky, athletic, and academic. So it wasn't just like, oh, you're the athletic kid or you're the academic kid. I just didn't really fit anywhere, which was a blessing and a challenge at the same time.
Yeah. So, do you think that helped forge the level of confidence that you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. Always kind of being the underdog because you didn't really fit anywhere. It forced me to really know that I had to support myself and that I really was capable of finding my own way because there wasn't just a clear cut path that would fit me.
Hmm. So, what was one of your biggest dreams during that time? So, you're getting bullied. You have a strained relationship with your parents. You feel like you don't fit in. Like in those moments, did you dream about just a better life?
I dreamed about like understanding people better. Like I really wanted to be a forensic psychologist at that point because people in the extremes of life were the most interesting to me. And I always wanted to help people. So just having that desire to always help and always improve and leave situations better than what I had found them, even the most wonderful situations can be improved. So I was always just finding ways to create that little pocket of good wherever I went. And that definitely really helped me move forward. And also just like gave those little moments of like pockets of joy to help, you know, allow that creativity and that motivation to move forward to be there for me.
See, one of the big turning points in my life, just to illustrate what you just said, was I started managing restaurants at a young age. And, being such a young person, managing 30, 35, 40, 45-year olds, and I was a teenager, when I started managing. And so I felt like I had to be loud and I had to be boisterous and everybody had to have my work ethic and think the way I think. And I thought that like clear into my early 30s.
Yeah.
And then I finally took a course in human dynamics and in True Colors, which is like a spin-off of Myers-Briggs, and really understanding the main personality types, but their stressors and the things that they're attracted to. And then once I understood that dynamic, it's like, you know what? Not everybody thinks the way I do, and that's okay. Like that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. That just means they have a different view. And the way one of the presenters explained it to us, he was like, I'll say one word: vacation. And he's like, what comes to your mind? Hiking. What comes to your mind? Snorkeling. What comes to your mind? The beach. What comes to your mind? Being out on my boat fishing. Like one word can have 100 different points of view. So once you came to the realization that you needed, well, no, before we get there, that's right. So how did you lead down the road to addiction?
Well, it took a little while to get there because I grew up in a small town. I saw how everybody drank, and I didn't drink until I was 23. It was the very first time. Like I had a
Me
half
too,
drink.
23.
Yeah, I had a half drink on my 18th birthday with my best friend who's born the day before me. And we were like, yeah, okay, that does not inspire me at all. So it wasn't until I had graduated from high school and then I went to massage school that I actually started drinking because I was at the point that I'm like, okay, I'm a young adult. I'm away from the small town. This is how you make friends here. I didn't really know anybody outside of the clinic I worked at. So then it's like, that's what we would do. We'd go have a couple of drinks and, I felt kind of fun. There was less, trying to be the people pleaser and putting on this facade of who I thought I should be. And then I didn't understand that I needed to have an understanding of what alcohol does. Right. So it's like, yes, you have a drink and you get drunk, but I also didn't understand what I was avoiding in my life. Like I was leaning into it because I wasn't really navigating my emotions that well. So it actually took a couple of years for it to become a big problem. It wasn't until I moved over to Scotland as a massage therapist that we were drinking all the time. There was the social culture. It was always like everybody was always up for a drink. It was cheap and that's just what you did. And then I moved to Australia. I worked with an Aussie Rules football team there. That was an amateur team. Again, they drink a lot in Australia. And so by the time I came back to Canada after living abroad for a couple of years, I was super proud of the fact I had this really high tolerance for alcohol. And I was just showing off my skills as a tiny lady. And what I still didn't realize is that I was actually just masking the fact that there are things about my life that I wasn't wanting to face. There was a relationship that hadn't worked out, that was a person I trusted the most in the world, and that didn't end up. So now I was back in the same place as this person. And instead of navigating how I felt about it, I just started to drink. So it became more and more of a problem to the point that I actually ended up by getting a DUI, which luckily I didn't hurt anybody. But it was enough of a wake-up call that I'm like, this is a problem. Like, why do I need to drink every night? I'm still functional. I still go to work. I'm still ethical, all of those things. But I'm like, why is this what I do? And it was that life had to actually scream at me for me to realize this is not aligned. And you really have a place of reflection to have right here.
Absolutely. I got pulled over twice.
Yeah.
And I got lucky both times. I was let off both times. And I was like, there will not be a third. And this was in my 20s. Yeah. But even now at 51, if I go out, I might have a drink, but I don't go beyond that. But 9 times out of 10, I won't even have anything. I'll just have water. And people will try to force me, oh, come on, you can have one. I'm like, you don't understand. I was close to jail twice. Because if they would have given me a breathalyzer, that thing would have exploded. So just... Fortunately, both times I really wasn't doing anything wrong. The first time I left the club, and the bouncer must have called the cops. Yeah. But I wasn't driving erratic, I wasn't speeding or anything, and then the cops just came and pulled me over. The second time, I was 3 houses away from where I lived. I just did a rolling stop, and there's a bush, and of course the cop behind the bush that I couldn't see because it was at night. So I did that little rolling stop, but that was enough. I was like, no. I'm not calling my parents from jail. It's not happening. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
All right. So you said something that I want to expand on. You had to give up the facade of being who you felt you should be.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people deal with that. Like going back to the first question I asked you, who are you at your core? And I started to have to tell my guests, because they couldn't answer the question. I mean, and these are people who are established with successful businesses. And it's like, yes, I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a podcast host, I'm a gym manager, I'm a sports coach, but that's what I do. At my core, I'm a big kid and I'm a competitor. It's like you strip away all those other things. I want to have fun. And if you challenge me, game on. It's like, that's who I am. So take me through that journey of you realizing that you weren't living in your true authentic self.
Well, okay, so go back to, I grew up in a house that really relied on compliance. So I didn't get to develop that sense of who I was and who I wanted to be because it didn't feel safe to do that. So it took going overseas for me to actually start developing who I wanted to be. I had been in clinical practice for 3 years and I went on a professional development course to Greece. And when I got there, there is an aha moment where it's like, you're moving overseas. And at that point, I was a person, I had my life planned out. I was going to live in Calgary. I had my clinic there that I worked at. I'd been working for 3 years, up for a raise. Like everything was on track for the life that I should be living. And I literally just pulled this monkey wrench out. I'm like, cool, moving to Scotland. Don't have a job, don't have a place to live, and I don't know a single person. But I applied for my massage license to see if I could transfer that at least and know that I could make a living that way. And then, I told my mom, I'm like, hey, I'm moving overseas. And she's like, I believe it when I see it. And I'm like, game on. Okay. So, and I did everything. I booked my flight. I got my biometrics done. And that moving overseas woke me up to, I wasn't living a life that was me. I was living what, the successful daughter looked like, what the, good daughter did, the good friend, all of those things. So when I wasn't surrounded by people who knew me, I had to figure out how to act in a day because what do I do? What do I want to do with my time? Instead of being, there for friends or there for family or extra hours at the clinic to be that good professional, all of those good versions of things. I had this entirely blank slate that scared the crap out of me because I'm like, what do I do? And then I'm like, what do I want to do is the better question. And then that's where I started to discover I love traveling. I love meeting new people, hiking, working out, all of those things kind of came to fruition. I took a whole bunch of different little 6-week classes when I was there. Pilates, burlesque dancing, all of those things were awesome. Like it was just that journey of, okay, where do you start? And then just perpetually encouraging myself to find new things to develop and learn more about myself. Who am I really at my core? And what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to create impact?
Yeah, it's like I'll ask people, like, what makes you happy? And they was like, what do you mean? I mean, what makes you happy? And it could be something so small. Like me, ever since I was a kid, I've always been fascinated with airplanes. Like just completely fascinated by the entire process. Even now, at my age now, we'll go to the airport. I'll just be staring out the window, watching them take off and land. It's like finding the little things in life that you enjoy. Just being out in nature and watching a bunny rabbit eating grass. Like I can sit and just stare at it and be like, that is just so awesome. And just figuring out the little things that light you up. Because we focus on the big things, mortgages due, car payments due, insurance bills coming out. The kids have this after school program, this kid is sick. And we just completely flood our brains with all of the challenges that we have in front of us, that we don't see all the awesome that's all around us. So how did you make that pivot to where now you can see the awesome and you want to live life intentionally and with purpose?
Because I got tired of feeling overwhelmed. Like when I had that realization of who I was, like I love a slow cup of coffee. I don't care where I am. If I'm sitting outside, people watching is one of my favorite things, but just having that time to reflect for the length of a cup of coffee is one of my favorite moments of joy. You can do it anywhere. And it always has that same home feeling, like coming back to yourself. And so when my life got so busy that I couldn't just sit and have a cup of coffee, I'm like, oh man, I'm doing this wrong again. Like it's just remembering to pivot back to those things because the bills, the mortgage, all of those things are still going to be there. But those moments of creating joy are the things that help keep you grounded so that you can navigate them in a better way. And so that you're actually being intentional with your time instead of like, oh, okay, well, it's Wednesday in the beginning of September. Where did the summer go? Right. Because it's like I went, from this payment to that payment. It's like, no, like, let's have a cup of coffee. It's the colors are changing around us on the farm and it's getting into fall time. It's always that great reset of bringing back. It's like, okay, well, what am I creating when I allow that versus if I don't even have enough time for a cup of coffee? What does that create? Because then that energy creates a pulling away from who you are and what you're wanting to create in the world because it's too busy and like too much noise.
Exactly. See, and that is almost as dangerous as addiction, because a lot of people who are workaholics, they're working for a distraction. Like they're not actually building towards something. Going back to the Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Most people have no clue. No clue. They're just getting up and they're just busy all day, every day. But there's no destination in sight. And once you reach that destination, then you redefine yourself.
Yeah.
And you evolve again. Like people will tell me, oh, you've changed. I'm like, good. Good. I don't want to be the same person I was when I was 22 or even 32 or even 42. It's like every time I reach a milestone, we do another pivot. I join another mastermind. I learn a new skill, and you just keep learning and you keep growing and you keep evolving and adapting. But you said another key word, and I pick up on every detail. So I don't even know if you realized how powerful that this is. But you said navigate.
Yeah.
Navigate. Now, when we're talking about personal development, like mental health is like mainstream now. Like when I was a kid, it wasn't all over the TV, and we have social media now. The way it is nowadays. So you're constantly hearing all of the words, and I know that they're real, but like you don't get rid of it. You navigate it. It's like I watched my father die. So there were days where it hits me harder than others, but it's like when those things come, I pivot. I have an outlet. Like his Facebook page is still live. So I can go to his Facebook page, read his words, watch his videos, look at his pictures, and then that brings me back to a place of gratitude. So like when it hits, you got to find your outlet. So if you have moments where you're feeling the way you did in the past, what are your go-to outlets to bring yourself back to center balance?
So I have 3 go-to outlets. If it's like really feeling like it's a really tough emotion, I go work out. I move my body. Going for a walk is my second one, and journaling.
Yes.
Right. It's like usually in that order as well. If I can't get to the gym because something hits me in the middle of the city when I'm out going grocery shopping, I go for a walk. Right. And it's just like, okay, how can I be more grateful in this moment for all of the things in my life? All of the things I've experienced, any loss in there as well, because that gives you a deeper sense of connection and love and all of those things, right? So it's just really bringing myself back to where my toes are to be like, okay, be grateful for what is going on and even the challenge that I'm facing right now. It's like, what am I meant to learn from this? And this is awesome because now I'm ready for that next level that's being presented, because we're not meant to be the same person. We like when somebody says you've changed just because they lack the capacity to say you've grown, because a lot of times they haven't. So it's easier to place that outwardly at people saying, oh, you've changed. It's like, but that's the point. So it's like, yes, thank you so much for noticing. It is the point of life. We are supposed to change. And like ideally in a better way, we're supposed to evolve and grow and all of those things. But we are always constantly navigating. There is no complete and done, and now that's off to the side, especially when it comes to the depth of life. There's going to be things that you're going to be hit with that is like, how do we do this one?
Yeah, see, and having a support system is key. I know we live in an age of everybody wants to be independent, but like nobody in this world is truly independent. It's like you need cashiers, you need people at the grocery store, you need your banker, you need the car salesman, you need your mechanic, you need your accountant, you need your bookkeeper. It's like there's so many people that you need in your life to survive. And one of the biggest things I help people reframe is like, I don't like to ask for help. Like, well, this is why you're struggling. It's like if you ask for help, the people that you need in your life will appear. Going back to when you focus on the challenges, you can't see the opportunities. Like there's a friend of mine, she struggles with self-doubt. And I literally wrote a book on overcoming self-doubt. You know what I mean? So it's like we kind of gravitated towards each other. I was like, do you really think that this happened by accident? It's like you came into a gym with someone with the exact skill set that you need to navigate your situation. It's like there's nothing wrong with you, right? We just have to reframe how you look at things when things arise. So even now, even though we're both in the coaching space, we are both still very human. Right. So how do you reframe your own mind on those days where the alarm goes off and you're like, I just don't want it today? But you still got to get up and do it. But I'm sure that happens every now and then, no?
It does. And I make it bigger than me. right? So it's
Yes.
like I'll post stuff. It's like, okay, I've definitely had messages where I've posted stuff on my Instagram and somebody's like, I so needed that today. Thank you for being the one to show up so that I could show up. And so
Yes.
it's just like when I don't want to, I'm like, well, but that it doesn't matter how you feel. It's what you promised yourself that you're going to do. And it's also who are you going to impact today? You're not going to inspire anybody from staying in bed longer than you're supposed to be at all.
Exactly.
Right? Like you
Yeah.
want to make it bigger.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so great that you said that. So you can't tell with the background, but I'm sitting in a gym right now. And when people come in here for consultations, that's what I tell them of like, if you keep yo-yoing, it's because you don't have a purpose, because you're in here for a selfish reason. So I ask people, I'm like, who can benefit from you getting in better shape? It's like, is your significant other out of shape as well? So if you getting in shape, can that benefit him or her? Can that benefit your children? Can that benefit your coworkers?
Yeah.
To your point, I always tell them you gotta make it bigger than just you. Like whether it's my platform or I'm guesting on other platforms, I'm showing up for the audience. It's not so I can get up and hear myself speak. It's like who out there is listening who is hurting. And one of my stories, whether it's donating a kidney to my sister, said watching my father die, nearly losing another sister to a brain aneurysm burst, losing everything and having to rebuild myself, going through a messy divorce. It's like I've been through stuff, but going through that stuff forged who I am today. So
Absolutely.
no matter what people are going through, and not to mention, this is episode 368 of listen people share the things that they've been through. So like my subconscious mind is loaded with stories for pretty much any situation out there, but it's not about me. It's like, oh, okay, so you went through XYZ. I'm sure I have something in my wheelhouse that can relate to your pain. And I want to get your thoughts on this. So one of the biggest things I've learned since starting the show is that pain is pain. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter what the source of the pain is. The steps to recovery are all the same. For example, a 9-month pregnant woman, someone who just recently got diagnosed with cancer, and I'll use myself as a third one, breaking my knee and being told I'd never run a jump again. So people want to compare the what's, right? The what's really don't matter. That pregnant woman had to get up every day and face that reality. The cancer diagnosis, face the reality. Me had to teach myself to walk again every single day, and then eventually run again, and then eventually jump again. So when you hear that and that comparison, what is your takeaway?
Well, everybody has to remember it's relative to the person. So what seems like, a small thing is maybe a big thing in somebody else's life. But a lot of times when people are doing the comparative thing, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. I don't have to change. Or I have it so much worse. I need all the sympathy because then I have this excuse to not change. Right. So it's like, I always wonder, where's the comparison coming from? Like, what are you afraid is going to happen if you change? Like, are you afraid you're going to lose that relationship, or are you going to lose the job, or different things like that? Because when there's that comparison, it's actually also limiting what you believe is possible for you, right? Especially if you're using it to hold back and be like, I don't have to change. It wasn't that bad. My drinking wasn't that bad. I didn't get a DUI, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a grand thing for it to be something that you need to address in your life, because the grand thing is usually because you didn't listen to the little things. Like, there are lots of little things that happened before I got the DUI. I didn't listen, right? So it's like, how are you using that comparison? Are you building yourself with it, or are you allowing it to let you stay small, play the victim, and not actually work through the things that are present in your life? And most people sway to that one. And that's where I'm like, but there's so much more. You just don't believe it for yourself yet.
Well, because that's the easy answer. Like it's easy to just point the fingers, but I just want to illustrate what you just said. And this was a real life conversation that I had with one of my former clients. I guess she and her husband had it out this one night over a spoon in the sink, right? And so as I'm listening to her, I was like, you realize this had nothing to do with the spoon. I was like, you guys have something way deeper brewing here. And for whatever reason, that spoon was the last drip in the cup that made it overflow. Right? I said, so at the end of that argument, did he put the spoon in the dishwasher? She's like, no. I said, and why don't you think he did that? Because all you had to say was, it would really help me out if you could just finish the dishes. Going back to understanding the different personality types, right? It's like men, whether you like it or not, we are wired to provide. So if you speak to us in that language, like it would be so great of you. You would help me so much if you could empty the dishwasher while I'm at work. And I guarantee when you come home, that dishwasher will be empty.
Absolutely.
So to your point, it's usually people are projecting on themselves. So like people look at me and they look at my day and they're like, how do you do that? Like my alarm goes off, I get up and I grind.
Yeah.
It's like that's it. I could have canceled on you today because of the DMV thing. You know what I mean? But I was like, no, let's figure this out. Like we're gonna make it happen. So I went up, did what I had to do, had enough time to go and have lunch, went for a quick walk, and boom, here we are. Right? It's like you just make things happen. Like everybody has the same 24 hours. But now with these little guys, little, like when I was at the DMV, almost every single face was in their phone.
Yep.
Every single face was in their phone. I was on a webinar learning something while I was sitting there. And that doesn't make me better than anybody else. I just make very good use of my time. So what are some good time management tips that you can give?
Start small. Like lots of people try and do too much at the same time. So then A, they're not absorbing it. And B, it's a really easy way to set yourself up to fail and be like, well, that didn't work. Right? Chunk things together, but also be rigid with your time. When you block off time, that time for that hour, say you're going to sit and listen to a mastermind, just listen to the mastermind for that whole hour. And then when it's done, move on to the next task so that you're fully and completely involved in what you're doing, because we're not meant to be so much multitasking. It's really hard if we're in 50 different places at once while we're trying to do one thing to actually create any momentum forward, right? Like if you're listening to a podcast while trying to do your PB at the gym and like thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, you're not going to be very successful at any of the things that you're going to do. You have to make it micro and be very intentional with what you're doing, right? Like if you want to listen to a podcast and go for a walk on a treadmill all the time, that's a great chunk, because then you can still be efficient at what you're doing. But some things need really concentrated focus and attention, and other things can be multitasks. And it's knowing where to do that instead of just trying to always do everything. It's also way too much on your system. Your nervous system needs to be able to integrate the things that you're doing. So if there is no pause in your day, there's no quiet, there's no just taking a moment to reflect on things, then all of that stuff is going in and it's not really being absorbed the way that you could be using it and utilizing it to go forward with. So really being intentional that the things that you're putting in have the space to expand and calm in the system too, to move forward from.
Yeah, and I'm not sharing this to counter what you just said. I'm sharing it just because it still boggles my mind to this day. My oldest daughter, she was a straight A student, right? Straight A student. Always had headphones on when she did her homework.
Yeah.
And it boggled my mind. Like I can't dial in like that. Like if I'm listening to music and working, I'm going to be typing what I'm hearing in my ear. It's like, I cannot do that. And I would tell her, I'd be like, take off the headphones and focus. And then like, she'd give me her test, A+, 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 A+. I'm like, you know what? I just need to let her be. Like, for whatever reason that works for her. It's like,
I was the same student. Like I did that to drown everybody else out. And I would pick music that I knew, so I wasn't trying to learn the lyrics. And it was also a study tip. If I started listening and like singing to my music, my brain was done absorbing for that period of time and I needed a 5-minute break so that I could do that. But I'm with her on that one. I did that all the way through my university. Is I would have music on in the background. But the minute I started thinking more about the music than my studying, that was my brain being like, hey, bathroom break, snack break, get up and move for 5 minutes and come back. And then I would notice there was music, but I wasn't paying attention to it because it was creating that container for me to study in, because I only did that when I was studying. Right.
Yes.
But it's like
so
different people.
Yeah, absolutely. So my outlets are very similar to yours, just in reverse. Like walking is my first go-to because like I get up in the morning and I teach three fitness classes, and sometimes I'll have a couple PT sessions as well. But I have like a gap in between the classes. And then I'll throw on the headphones. I'll put on something that I can learn from. You know, AI is the big buzz now, so I'm trying to learn as much about AI as I can now before it tries to kill us all, like in the Terminator. But but it's like that, going to the gym, and then believe it or not, being on these platforms is very calming to me.
Yes.
Again, whether it's mine, whether it's others, like it's just very, very nice knowing that people can take away and I can also learn. It's like I got a page full of notes over here just from things that you've been saying, you know, and getting that connection. Like that's why I do it like this. Because in the beginning, I used to have people send me questions, and as I'm looking at the questions, I'm like, it just doesn't feel real. It's like I just spent an hour with this person and I know nothing about them because I just stuck to their questions. And so once I switched to this format, then it started to grow because I make genuine connections with the guests. And then we end up doing things like panels where I'll bring back former guests, and then we'll take one topic. As you see, this one's embracing vulnerability, and each of us give a different take on that one topic, right? And I tell people, I'm like, this is not a debate panel. I said, if you have a different way, just share your different way. I said, if you want to ask one of the other guest questions, feel free. I said, but we're not here to push back on each other. It's okay. Going back to the vacation example, like you ask 100 people, you might get 100 different answers over that one thing. And that's okay. Because some people might hear my style and be like, nah, that's not for me. You know, some people might hear your style and think, nah, that's not for me. And vice versa. They might hear me going on one of my rants and be like, I need that. And then
Yeah.
same with you. They're like, I need that. You know, so as many different points of view as we can give, because I don't need them all to work with me, you know, but if people are getting help and if I can bring guests on and they resonate with you and they gravitate towards you, that's still a score. It's like they don't have to just be my clients. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is when I first started bringing other trainers on, I would get inboxes and they're like, why are you promoting other fitness coaches? I said, because there's 9 billion people on the planet. I can't service all of them. Right? And I'm humble enough to know people who know me are gonna chuckle that I just said that because I'm super confident. But I'm humble enough to know that I don't know it all and that my style isn't for everyone. So what's your take on
Well, my take is that when you take your ego out of it and you're just looking at the good of people and impacting people, then that's the best way to be because I am not everybody's cup of tea and I'm not supposed to be, right? I am going to resonate with people that I know I can definitely help because I've been in experiences that they are either experiencing now or they're on the other side of and they just don't know how to be open about it because that secretiveness about things that you've experienced keeps you locked up too. So you need to know by me sharing things that, for a long time it was very embarrassing to me and I never told anybody about my DUI. I'm now giving somebody else permission to acknowledge that that doesn't make you a bad person. That just made a choice that wasn't aligned. And then how you moved
that?
forward from it is the thing that gets you to the next place. But if you haven't allowed yourself to move forward because you're still stuck there, then that doesn't do anything. Like when we really just need to take our egos out. There is so much success for every person that is on the planet that me having success does not take away from your ability or somebody else's ability to have success. There is enough space for everybody. And I don't want to treat everybody. I don't want to coach everybody because there's things that I don't know about. So then I wouldn't
Exactly.
be helpful for them. I would be just detracting from their goals. So really just again being intentional. How are you showing up? Where are your limitations? Meeting other people in community is great because it's like, oh, this person knows, Robert knows way more about this than I do. You would be a great fit with him. And just like really shuttling people to the best intention and where they're going to hit their potential way better.
Yeah, because vibe matters. Like
Yeah.
vibe is a thing. Like I was telling a friend the other day, after all of these episodes, there was only 2 where I actually had to kind of drag the guests through the interview. So just getting short answers, one word answers, vague answers. only 2 times. So a majority of the people, like, they have it in there. Like, I've had people where I've been their first podcast that they've been on. And I'm like, just relax. Like it's just like we're sitting at a bar. We just meet and we're small talking. Like, that's all this is. And the more people talk about themselves, oh, I don't have that background. I just noticed too. And we're 40 minutes into this. I just realized I have the wrong background up. Right. Anyways, yeah, like, people don't realize that the more you talk about your story, the easier it becomes. Like, if I go from when my dad got sick in January of 2019 to when he passed November 18th of 2019, if I tell the whole timeline, I can't get through it without getting emotional. I can't. Yeah. And like I said, it's going on 6 years now. But like, I can tell little snippets because I've spoken about it enough that story is resolved within me. And like, my goal isn't to get through it without crying. Because regardless of what society says, men have tear ducts for a reason. Like, if we weren't meant to cry, we wouldn't have them. Like, it's okay. And I want to get your thoughts along those lines on vulnerability, because I hear a lot on the female side. I hear a lot of people saying, like, I don't want to cry on stage. And of course, with the men don't want to feel weak, but get into that level of vulnerability, in my opinion, is one of the ultimate superpowers, that you can do that in front of others, right? So, but what does vulnerability mean to you?
It's just being like raw and without worried about what people are going to think of it. Right. And it's like sitting with those feelings in your body. Right. There are people who try to cry on stage to get that vulnerability and the empathy card. But it's like, when you're in that experience and remembering how you felt about it, and you can convey that, and if there's tears behind it, let them go. Because again, it's permission. It's showing that we are not these well-curated people that are up here compared to everybody else. It's like, no, we all are humans. We all have feelings, broad spectrum feelings. We're not just meant to have mono feelings in a day. We're not supposed to just be happy. We're supposed to have a wide spectrum of things. But I believe showing vulnerability is showing huge strength. Because then you also allow people to come in and support you, and you receive, right? We need both that giving and receiving energy, and we need community. We aren't meant to be isolate people. And it's like, I have 2 stepsons and I have a husband, and I'm grateful that they are ones that show emotion, because they've been through a lot in their life. Like, the boys unexpectedly lost their mom before I ever met them. So we navigate grief all the time. And it's like, my husband showing his emotions, because before that, he really didn't cry. So it took a while for the boys to realize that, okay, the world is not imploding because dad is crying. Like, I've seen him smash his thumb and almost explode, and he didn't cry, but now he's crying. What's wrong with the world? So it's actually taken a process of unlearning to realize that this is incredibly strong to show that something hurts right now. Right. And to be able to work through it.
See, and I want to expand on that, because I think that's huge. The process of unlearning. Yeah. Like, the first chapter in my book, chapter 1, is there's nothing wrong with you. Because I hear that all the time. Like, what is wrong with me? Fix me. I need to be fixed. I'm broken. I'm damaged. And that's not the case. It's like, yes, you've been through some stuff and you formulated a thought pattern about what you've been through. Like, if we revisit that, I always say it's kind of like a house burning down, right? They don't just send in the construction team and clean it up and start to rebuild. You got to sift through the rubble, and people don't want to go back and visit the pain. But like, going back to my dad again, like, if I just focus on his last minute of life, because like, we watched him pass away. Like, so if I just focus on that moment, like, I'm never going to heal. It's like, so, but I had to revisit the moment and said, okay, we left the room, and then what? It's like, that's where the story begins. Like, the next day, I actually had a podcast that was scheduled 4 months prior, and it was on grief. Who would have thought, right? So, because at first, again, it would have been easy for me to cancel. People would have been like, oh, I get it, I understand, take the time and grieve. And I was like, I'm constantly preaching about showing up. Yeah. I was like, I need to show up and do this episode. And the first 10 minutes, I bawled like a baby right there on the live stream. I bring my guest in before she even starts because she was listening to me. So I bring her on and her eyes are red. She's got tears streaming down her face. And then her son was actually murdered at 29. And so we just, just going back and forth about not so much the what happened, as I stated earlier. It's like, all right, so the day after you found out, like, what was that day like? And like, that's what you have to revisit when it comes to moving past these things. So the way you are now, when you look back on the things that you went through, what were some of the biggest takeaways?
So the biggest takeaways was not letting it define me, right? Not letting it, like, I hid my DUI from the world for the longest time because that went against the image I had for myself, like this upstanding person, professional, all of those things. And I let that bad choice define me as a person. And when I finally realized it's like, I'm not a bad person. I made a bad choice and I dealt with the consequences. I showed up, I did the work, I made the reparations, all of the things that I needed to do to close that chapter. But I had been allowing myself to define myself as a bad person from that. And it's really just looking at it for what lessons are we meant to learn? And how can I take that and not do the same thing? Right? Can I do something 1% different? Where, like getting closer to being more honest with yourself without having big disasters to happen. Because no matter what happens in life, no matter what cards you're dealt with, you are the person and your actions bring you to where you are today. And that's incredibly powerful because you also, if you take responsibility and ownership radically of all of those things, you can be the person to change your life too. Nobody else can change your life for you, only you can. But it's just realizing that challenges are normal for everybody. And it is something that we're meant to grow through, not avoid, and not let it devastate us to never do anything. We all have incredible things we're supposed to do with our lives. That's why we are here. And it's just realizing that that isn't the end of the world. It's the end of that chapter. And now what? Just like you were saying.
And now what? Love it. All right, so let's talk about what you do. Let's talk about your business, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm an empowerment coach. I focus a lot on people's mindsets. I've used tools of macros and movements in my previous coaching for people to help transform their lives from the inside out. And really, it's just unlocking what limiting beliefs that they have in their lives that are keeping them stuck in a place that they don't want to be. Right. And just showing that it is that 1%, that small habit, and how the impact of stacking those every day changes your whole life without having to cost you a crazy amount of money. Right. So it's just really leading by example. I show up every day. I do the same things that I give the clients for their habits. And we use it in our house with our kiddos, right? Like we've changed our boys' foods. We've taught them the power of mindset, nutrition, facing things head on, and like working through life instead of avoiding it. So really it's just getting people's sparks back by showing them that they have the power to change their lives.
Okay, can you tell a success story?
One of my favorite ones is we had a single mom of two that she started the program just wanting to lose some weight, as we always do. We always start superficial before we dive deep. And throughout the program, not only did she release 25 pounds, she also released a toxic relationship, moved into a different house, and her habits have worn off on her kids, that her son with ADHD is no longer needing his medication because it's regulated with his food, and just like a better co-parenting relationship with her ex-husband, and like getting to move on with her life and seeing more possible things for herself and looking at a new job and a new house and all of that, simply because she showed up for herself.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Absolutely.
Literally to just get the process started. Like I must say, on almost every single show that I'm interviewed on, that just get started. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, just get it done. Like, this is the second book cover, like, because I didn't like the way the first one came out. But even though I didn't like it, I was like, you know what? Let me just publish it. Let me just sell a couple, and then that way I know it's real. And I sold, I don't know, 20, 30, I want to say. So I was like, oh, okay, all right, it's real. Like, I sold more than one. I said, so I went back to the drawing board, and then I came up with this cover. And I was like, all right, I like this one better. It pops. And even with this podcast, like, this podcast has evolved multiple times. Like, when I first started, it was just all about fitness. And then I didn't want to just do fitness. Like, I know fitness is important, but I didn't want to just do fitness. Like, I want to help people get through stuff, because I actually tell people that I'm a personal development coach or a transformational coach. Just fitness is my outlet. So like, I use these challenging workouts, and we do hard stuff in here. And I tell people, like, this is going to build your endurance, but it's also going to build your mental resilience. Like, so when you're dealing with stuff out there in the outside world, I put you guys through hell in here. You're trying to tell me you're stressed out over a PTO meeting? It's like, come on. It's like, you just completely reframe how you view the outside world. And again, like, that doesn't mean there's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about you. We both got to the point where we had to reframe ourselves. And so once you can reframe yourself, now you can get out there and empower other people to just think differently. You don't have to be differently. You don't have to go back to school. So you don't have to learn 1,000 new things, although learning is good. But just take what you've been through and just go back through your past. Like I'm single now. I have and it's very easy to blame the significant other. So after my last breakup several years ago, I was like, you know what? Where did I screw up? Because I'm the common denominator here, right? So, and all these and I just went through. It's like, maybe I was a little too overbearing with this one. Like, maybe I was trying to turn her into something she wasn't in this one. And then I just learned all of those little things about myself. And now I'm at a place where I know I got to come at it from understanding. I got to understand this person. Like, why do they think the way they think? Like, why do they react when this happens? And then you going back to navigate, and then you learn to navigate them rather than trying to regulate them. And I think that's what I was trying to do, was trying to regulate them, right? So putting this back to what you do, because I want to assume, you probably use different words, but do you help people try to regulate themselves?
Essentially, I help people realize that there's more possible for themselves. And a lot of that does come from, you have to regulate yourself, but you also have to understand yourself, right? Because a lot of people probably have a similar thing where they lived a life based off of patterns and beliefs and habits that they watched their parents do, right? And if you have never sat down and asked yourself, why do I buy the type of laundry detergent I buy, or shop where I buy, or all of those things. Why do I do Christmas the way I do it? Whatever your beliefs are, where do they come from? And if you didn't consciously create them, you're repeating patterns. So then if you don't really know who you are because you've not actually sat down and done that self-development or asked those questions, you're not necessarily living to your full potential, because where are you in your own life? And it's really just bringing that spark back in, because people can't actually do the thing where, like, okay, you ask me, who are you at your core? I know who I am at my core because I've sat and I've asked myself these questions. What do I believe? Do I believe this to be true? No. Okay, what is actually true for me? And not enough people sit down and actually realize that this is a part of taking ownership of your own life, is that looking at, how do I want to create my life in co-creation with the world and my beliefs, right? So it's shedding a light and allowing people to view themselves in a different way. That's actually scary because it's expansive, and there's nobody telling them how they have to be, just themselves.
Yes. So in 2017, I know we got to bring this down soon, but in 2017, I went through a speaker boot camp down in Atlanta, Georgia. And one of the exercises that they had us do to write down 20 things that you're proud of, and then 20 things that challenged you. And everybody had no problems writing down 20 negative things, or seemingly negative things. But myself included, like, I got like the first three, because like they don't want like the easy answers, like family, kids, like everybody's gonna say that. Like before you became a parent, like what are some things that made you happy? And then
Yeah.
as you peel back those layers and you keep going deeper and deeper, I was like, I'm kind of awesome. I
Yep.
was like, I've been through a lot of stuff. It's like, holy crap. So like when you get up on these platforms or just even to yourself, and you want to take, say, three of the good, three of the challenges, and weave them into a story. Because like
Yep.
I don't want to just get up here and spend the entire hour just talking about I watched my dad die.
Yep.
It's like you throw in funny stories. You throw in times where he pissed me off. You throw in times where he was very supportive. Him screaming like a weirdo in the stands when I scored a touchdown playing football. Right? It's like you take him through that whole journey. You don't just get stuck, to your point, in one of the senses or feelings. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want people sad for the entire 20-minute speech. It's like I want to take them through a journey. But when you actually sit back and you look at those two lists, like that in itself, as it says above us, your true power lies in your story.
Yeah.
Those 40 things have the power to change your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So have you ever done anything similar to that, just either for yourself or with any of your clients?
Yeah, I've done both. Like I went through a speaker boot camp earlier this year. And also I have a coach that helps you rewire your brain so that you're not just stuck in the pain story and different things of your past. And that was one of the challenges she had for us. We had to write 50 things of like that you're
Oof.
proud of about yourself, and then 50
Yeah.
things that you were challenged by. So it was actually the same thing, but it was a bigger list, and it took me a while.
Yeah.
I had to recruit my husband at one point. I'm like okay, I got 25 things, and now I feel like I'm just repeating myself. So like, and it was funny because he's like, how do I explain that? He's like, because I know, but it was even challenging for him to say that about me. So it's our brain isn't
Yeah.
wired so much for the positive. It's actually 7 times more wired for the negative. That's why negative is
Yes.
so
Yep.
easy for everybody. And so
Mhm.
it is a fun thing that I brought into my coaching with my clients. I'm like, hey guys, tell me good things about you. And not like surface level. Tell me deep things that you know to
Yeah.
be true. Tell me characteristics. Tell me traits, things about you. And it's really fun to watch that light bulb go off and they're just like, whoa, I've never seen myself
Mm.
that way. But I could give you like 150 things that I'm not good at or that I'm challenged by or that I think are bad about myself.
So
And
true. And full transparency, I actually posted in my private group with my fitness clients. I'm like,
yeah,
hey guys, what do you guys think I'm best at?
yeah,
And I got like 80 responses of things. I mean, some of them were repetitive, but some of the things I don't even think of because I just do it on a daily basis. So like it doesn't stand out. And I
no,
think that's why a lot of people are like, well, that's just who I am. Like I don't think it's anything special. But to somebody else, like as I was reading those responses, I was like, I would have never thought that, but,
yeah,
but that's what's standing out to them about me. And like that was very, very eye-opening because to your point, a lot of people fear talking about themselves anyway. So when you put them on the spot, and again, as like I said earlier, like what makes you smile? And a lot of people are like, my kids, like, no kids, no family. And like outside of that, what else makes you smile?
yeah,
And they struggle with that. But once they start uncovering things, then like you start waking up things that are long dormant in your subconscious mind. I'm like, see, it's like you have a lot more going for you than you think you do.
yeah.
And watching them flip that switch is amazing. So I'm gonna throw it to you for a final word. But first, let people know, even though I'm going to have all your links and stuff, they're already in the description, but let people know where they can find you if you have any offers and just give us a final word.
So you can find me at the.relentless.couple at Instagram or at Charissa Halomen on Instagram. I'm active on both of those all the time. Our coaching offer is changing slightly, so a new one will be posted the next couple of weeks. But we do work in group coaching settings and really focused on mindset. Because if you can help people shift their mind, the weight, the money, the relationships, all of that works out in the end because your mind has shifted. So really just focusing on that. And just, it's never too late to make a change. You could be 90 years old and start making changes. It is always like an option that's available to you to start living your best life right now.
Love it. So I have nothing else to add to that. So thank you very much for taking the time. If you have the time, don't sign out. I just want you for another couple minutes afterwards, if that's
For sure.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, and if you're interested in being in one of the upcoming panels, let me know and I'll reach out when the time comes.
Absolutely. Always up for great conversations.
Awesome. All right. So I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.